Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Inna and today we're checking out a video that looks very interesting to me. It's called The Things Americans Do That Confuse the Rest of the World. It's been actually a minute since we did this thing of like kind of comparing European continent where I grew up to like other parts of the world, and I feel like this could be a very interesting video to kind of start that journey again. Just for a little bit of context, I was born in Ukraine, and when I was 7 I moved to Italy, and I've been living here ever since. I could kind of consider myself half and half because I'm too Italian to be Ukrainian and I'm too Ukrainian to be Italian, if that makes sense. So yeah, my perspective is fully European. I have never visited the United States. I would like to at some point. So yeah, with no further ado, we're gonna jump straight into this one. If you don't know me yet, of course, hi, my name is Inna. I do a lot of reactions here on YouTube. This is kind of like my extra channel, but I do have one where I do music reactions, another one where I do movies, and another one again where I do other stuff. Like, I do a lot of videos on YouTube, apparently, and I also stream over on Twitch. I do a lot of stuff. Okay, talking way too much. Let's get into the video.
The United States of America is the land of the free, the home of the brave, and also the home to a lot of weird stuff that most other countries don't do. This former British colony has truly grown up to be its own quirky person. The following 10 things tend to confuse non-Americans, and you can find non-natives of the US of A discussing them all across the internet.
Let's see. By the way, I kind of hope that this video is made by an American. The channel is Be Amazing. I'm gonna link the original down below. But like, I hope that it's like, you know, someone that was raised in the United States, because it would be the most true, I guess, the most realistic.
Number 10. Tipping. America definitely isn't the only country in the world where tipping is a common practice. In fact, if you're curious about what jobs get tipped in what countries, there's a website called whototip.net that breaks down the tipping customs of the world. But America is certainly the country where tipping is the most prevalent. In most countries and cultures around the world, tipping is simply an optional charge should you feel your server deserves to be rewarded for their efforts. However, in America, you should always give a tip of around 10 to 20%, especially at restaurants. Tipping is a big part of American culture, which seems odd to outsiders. People may dislike tipping, but it's probably here to stay. In America, the unspoken system is that food prices in restaurants are lower than they should be because tips allow the restaurant to pay their waitstaff less. They can then charge you less for food. At least that's what you can try telling your friend the next time he doesn't want to contribute to the tip at a restaurant because he recently saw Reservoir Dogs. Well,
yeah, let me tell you, that is absolutely true. I have talked about this before several times here on this channel and on Twitch. Like, where I come from here in Italy, tipping is not a thing. You can tip. You can absolutely do it. And what I tend to do, and a lot of people tend to do, is like, if you're in a restaurant, for example, let's say that your bill is 45 euros and you're just gonna give a 50 euro bill and be like, round it up, so you're not gonna take the change. So technically you are tipping with 5 euros, but that only happens with cash. With card, if you pay with card, then you're just gonna be like, okay, I'll here's my card, charge it. Because like, nobody tends to tip in card. It's just like not a thing. It's super weird in a way, because also like my assumption would be like, if I tip with a card, like the restaurant owner is gonna get the money and not the server that served me. So yeah, that's kind of a thing. But it is true, absolutely, we don't have mandatory tipping. We absolutely don't. You can tip. It's always going to be liked. I think that like everybody's gonna appreciate if you leave them a tip, in Italy at least, because I know that in some other countries, like in Japan, tipping is considered rude. Here in Italy it's not. So if you ever visit the country, feel free to leave a tip if you want to, but keep in mind that it's not a mandatory.
A lot of people argue that tipping is a good thing because it increases the quality of service you receive. This isn't actually true. Cornell University published a study that revealed the real reason people tip, more or less, is basically random. And customers who receive great service tip on average just 1% more than those who don't. Lots of people around the world look at America and ask, why not pay service workers a normal amount of money and just make the food more expensive? Number 9. Have few vacation days. Americans don't go on vacation as much as the rest of the world does. On average, we're given only 12 vacation days by our work. as opposed to Europeans who get between 25 and 30. Perhaps more interesting is the fact that Americans on average only use 10 of their 12 given vacation days, whereas Europeans tend to use all of theirs. I guess Americans just can't bring themselves to leave the office while there's still work to be done. And while
that is absolutely true, and I'm surprised that like you don't have a lot of vacation days, and sometimes you don't even use all of them. Now here in Italy, it's definitely the opposite. I don't know exactly how many we get, to be honest, and like my situation is a little bit weird because like now I'm a content creator. I'm like a freelancer technically, so I don't have an employer that gives me vacation days. I kind of like manage it on my own, but up until like a year and a half ago, I was working in an office, like in a regular job. I was doing marketing stuff, and in my specific office, and this can vary, we had almost the full length of August off, completely off, and then we would have like some random days here and there, like, you know, like if there's a national holiday or something, you would get a day off, and around Christmas you also get a couple of days. So the 30-day is quite close. I think that at my old place we were actually doing a little bit more than needed, but if you do more than needed or like allowed or whatever, then like they kind of like take the days off of your pay, if that makes sense. But like when the office closes, it's a little weird. So I don't want to say, yeah, we have like 30 days in Italy or whatever, because every single employer kind of manages on in their own way. But it's true that we get a lot. Yes, we absolutely do, and that's something that I didn't realize wasn't that common. I thought that like kind of everybody, a lot of countries at least, had this possibility. And I'm very grateful for it now, because I really needed that month off. In my old job, I really needed it.
It may suggest Europeans are lazy. According to a mounting body of research, it's actually counterproductive not to take a vacation, as breaks help us rejuvenate, increasing our productivity over time.
And you don't want to burn out.
When us Americans do go on vacation, we also travel less internationally than citizens of most other countries. But that may be related to our limited number of vacation days. 12 days just doesn't allow for an international trip as well as 30 does, as the time and cost of travel to international destinations is so great. According to the Department of Commerce, American international travelers spent 42% of the cost of their entire trip simply on the travel to and from their destination.
That's a lot.
It's then not too surprising that most Americans don't even have a passport. Only 42% of U.S. citizens own a passport, whereas 76% of English citizens do. That means at least 58% of Americans haven't even left the U.S., as you need a passport to travel. To the rest of the world, this is an odd characteristic of such a prosperous nation. While it's partly due to limited vacation days, it may also be because Americans lack the desire to travel as much as the rest of the world. Number 8.
But also, okay, I kind of want to point out something that I'm not sure how important it is. It's true that like so many people don't have a passport, so they don't travel internationally. However, United States, they are a massive country, like literally 50 states. So like if you want to use your days off, your vacation days within the country, you can visit so many wonderful things, and they're also different just because the territory is so wide. So I'm not sure if like saying Americans just don't like to travel that much is actually accurate or not. But I don't know, it's just like my assumption. You guys let me know in the comments.
Food preferences. When you go to a restaurant in America, you're probably going to get a lot of food. At least a lot more than most other nations would serve.
Really?
It's a popular topic of discussion amongst non-Americans online. Many European tourists admit they would frequently just order one item off the menu and share it with another person. America does it big, and for non-Americans, the size options at fast food restaurants perfectly illustrate this. Take a look at this image by a Japanese citizen in 2011, comparing the sizes of McDonald's drinks in America versus Japan.
That's quite a difference.
The medium Japanese cup is the exact same size as the small American cup, and the American medium cup is larger than the Japanese large.
I have a question. I'm raising my hand as if I was in class. I think that I know that people in the United States tend to like ice a lot. So is it possible that these cups are just like a little bit bigger because they're supposed to contain more ice? Brain is braining here. I don't know, maybe I'm saying something completely stupid, but it makes sense. Like we also put ice in stuff, especially like McDonald's drinks and stuff, but I think that you guys put more.
But McDonald's is on the small size. Here are the small sizes at a number of vendors, showing just how much larger a small cup is in America. While many around the world like to joke about how it proves Americans are fat, the truth is a lot of them take away their leftovers in carry-out boxes to eat throughout the week.
Yeah, that's true, that's
Still,
true.
American food is vastly different to food found in the rest of the world. For one, non-Americans are, on the whole, less obsessive about peanut butter. Brian Sternthal, a professor of marketing at Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management, has said that in many parts of the world, peanut butter is regarded as unpalatable American curiosity.
Yeah, that's true.
For example, according to Statista, Americans eat a kilogram of it per year, compared to 100 grams eaten per person per year in Europe. That's 10 times the amount Europeans eat.
But let me add one thing. Up until at least a couple of years ago, peanut butter here in Italy, it was not very accessible. Like, you could find it in some supermarkets, but like maybe it was directly exported from the USA, from some other part of the world, so it would be hella expensive compared to all the other products. So it would be just like natural not to go for the peanut butter, but something else that we know that is, you know, decently priced and stuff. So I'm not sure if it's like we just don't like peanut butter, or for a long time we haven't had a lot of access to it. I feel like things have changed a lot, maybe in the last 5 years or so. Like I see peanut butter regularly at the supermarket now, but it definitely wasn't the case a couple of years ago, at least in Italy. I don't know, maybe other European people can tell me their experience here.
American food anomalies that have confused Europeans include comparatively small fruit and vegetable aisles full of fruits and vegetables that will cost you a lot more than they would across the Atlantic, as well as an overabundance of highly processed sweet and salty foods, and so-called cheese that can be sprayed out of a can.
Easy cheese?
Number 7.
What's that?
College sports. In America, college sports are almost as popular as professional sports. In some areas, they're actually more popular. People will have barbecues outside of stadiums for hours before the games start, paint their faces, and hate on rival academic institutions. College athletics are taken just as seriously by the fans, who don't care that the players aren't as good as the pros and aren't even getting paid. This may be baffling to our neighbors, but there is an explanation for this American pastime of watching what are literally amateur games. Unlike most fun-sized European countries, America is massive. There are lots of places that just aren't anywhere near a major city where you could go and see a professional team play. Colleges are the next best thing, and there's bound to be one of them nearby at least. College football and basketball also actually predate those sports' professional leagues, so college athletics culture has been around forever. Number 6.
Okay. Honestly, I can't comment too much on that because I don't follow sports at all. Like, I know that people here love football. I live in Milan, so we got the Milan AC team and the Inter, and there's the San Siro Stadium. There's a lot of chaos regarding that, but it's just something that I'm not familiar with because it's not my cup of tea, so I can't really say much.
Prescription drug commercials. Non-Americans who travel to the U.S. are often surprised to find that there are advertisements for prescription drugs on regular television. You can't go and buy them from stores, so the commercials urge viewers to ask their doctor about them. In 2016, Kantar Media, a firm that tracks multimedia advertising, reported that nearly 800,000 prescription drug advertisements were aired on television, which was a 65% increase from just 4 years prior.
I am so surprised about this because here that's absolutely not allowed. Like, there are commercials for regular medicine, like, you know, there's the spray if you have a sore throat or like something for the cold, and like if you have a fever, here's that, whatever, but not prescription. Like, you can absolutely not advertise that as far as I know. So that's kind of wild to me. Like, it's prescription for a reason, so your doctor should be the one telling you yes, you need this or not. Wow, that's weird. I mean, of course, like, the doctor still has to do a prescription, but I don't know. Okay.
Basically, the reason these commercials don't exist in other countries is because they aren't legal in other countries. In fact, the only other country where these kinds of commercials exist is New Zealand. The U.S. pharmaceutical industry is huge. It generated $425 billion in 2015. If they're allowed to advertise, of course they're going to. And it works. Direct-to-consumer advertised drugs tend to sell better than drugs that aren't. But they're controversial.
Crazy.
And it seems the reason America allows them comes down to our free speech protections under the First Amendment. Governments of most countries around the world think they're dangerous, and the research suggests they're not wrong. Even the American Medical Association has called for a ban on them, as these advertisements have been proven by studies to broaden the scope of who gets treated with prescription drugs. They also lead to patients being influenced to take newer, less effective drugs that often cost more.
Oh, yeah,
For
that's
example,
messed up.
Vioxx, which was later withdrawn as it caused life-threatening side effects such as increasing the risk of heart attack and strokes. Number 5.
Wow.
Soccer.
I'm very surprised about
America,
that.
of course, isn't the only country that plays soccer, but we are one of the only countries that calls the game you play with your feet soccer and the one you play with your hands football. We stand with countries like Australia, Korea, South Africa, and Italy in not calling the sport football. Understandably,
Italy doesn't call it soccer. Or soccer, however you pronounce it. We don't. We say football if we have to say it in English. Otherwise, we, of course, like we have our own word where it's culture. We say football, guys. Like everybody that I know, that I met in my life, Italian that I ever heard speaking English, they're gonna say football.
it confuses most of the world.
I mean, Italians confirm or deny. That's my experience, but I never really heard anyone saying soccer.
So, what is the origin of this counterintuitive name? Soccer is an abbreviation of association, which came from association football, the official name for the game. The suffix "er" was added as a common jocular slang term of the time. The reason the name is stuck is because American football developed in the mid-19th century, evolving from the British game of rugby. Back then, rugby was loosely known as football, but it was often called rugby to make the distinction. All these sports were about moving the ball forward, but as the game developed across the pond, Americans developed different rules about how you were allowed to do it and what you could wear. The most
that's
popular
cool to
rule
know.
set in England ended up being the one where you can only use your feet. And the most popular rule set in America ended up being the one where you get to smash into each other. Hence why the two totally different sports have the same names in the two countries. Number
I
4,
see.
not including sales tax. Wherever there's a
Wild.
discussion of American sales tax on the internet, you can find non-Americans telling their tales of being shocked at the final price because they didn't realize that sales tax wasn't included. In most countries, the price tag on an item includes the part you have to pay to the government, so they can
Yeah.
build roads and other things. But not here in the US. This is because sales tax in America can vary by county, so something could cost a slightly different amount just a mile away. There are also very specific laws
I see,
about what
okay.
gets sales taxed. For instance, if you order coffee to go, there will not be sales tax in California. But if you sit down in the cafe and eat a donut, you will have to pay sales tax. Essentially, with all these rules, it becomes difficult to put things on a price tag. Number 3.
That is odd, but it makes sense. Like I knew about these, but like the taxes is not included in the price tag. I knew it, but I never really knew the reason why. So it makes sense, but it's so complicated. Wouldn't it be just like easier to try to make it more cohesive and have a price tag there instead of doing calculations and stuff? I don't know. I feel like it would be just so much easier for everyone, right?
Not using the metric system.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
The
yes.
United States of America has no
No.
need for universally accepted and logical measurement systems because Thomas Jefferson said so. In 1790, when the metric system was being developed, he simply decided not to bring it to America.
He
so
just
it
said
didn't
no?
happen. America,
That easy?
Liberia, and Myanmar are the only countries in the world that use the imperial system. Liberia uses the same units that America does, and Myanmar is a bit of a mess. They use a combination of their own totally unique Burmese
wow.
measuring units, American imperial units, and metric units. So they may have the distinction of being the only country with a bigger headache when it comes to this than America. But surely now that Thomas Jefferson is long dead, we could just switch over, right? Well, it isn't that simple.
No,
It would cost
no.
a lot of money to switch over the country's whole infrastructure to the metric system now that the US already uses their own unique imperial system. The closest the US has gotten is that today, in US schools, kids learn about both the imperial and metric systems. So most of us do have a basic
okay.
understanding of how the metric system works, even if we never really use it.
Okay, question for all Americans watching this video. If you did study both at school, how much do you remember of the metric system? Like, if I tell you, I don't know, a kilometer, do you know how much that is? Just out of curiosity. And like, I am ignorant in the imperial system. I don't know much. I think that I only know that 5 kilometers is 3.1 miles, because like I like running, so I know kind of like the distances and stuff, but that's about it. I don't know that much. I think that I also know that I'm tall, like 5'2". Someone may argue that it's 5'1", but potato. Let me know.
Even if you buy a measuring tape in the US, it will have both imperial and metric units on
That's
it.
cool.
Throughout American history, there have been various attempts to reform the system and switch over, but none have succeeded. It would seem as though Thomas Jefferson's wish for an extra special system shall live on for the foreseeable future.
Forever.
It hasn't come without its consequences, though, as this confusion has led to enormous mistakes, like the Mars orbiter that was lost by NASA because of a metric system mix-up.
Really?
Number 2.
I had no idea about
month
that.
before the day.
That's
The United
so
States is the
weird.
only
Yes.
country that, when writing out the
Yes.
date, puts the month before the day. And it seems to extremely aggravate the rest of the world. Most other countries write the day, then the month, then the year.
It's more intuitive, because first you write the smallest unit, the day, then the month, and then the year. Like, it makes sense, doesn't it? I don't know. I sometimes find myself that I have to use your way when I put the month first, because like, I don't know, I'm sending an invoice or whatever, stuff like that, and it freaks me out every single time. Like, I literally get stuck where I'm like, I have to think about it.
Majority of countries and most of Europe and South America do it this way. It seems logical, as the units of time are then in order from smallest to largest.
That's what I'm
Also
saying.
seemingly logical is how the date is written in China and Japan, which is year, month, day, or largest to smallest. So why do we format time like this?
Good question, why?
Well, unfortunately, there's no widely accepted answer as to why this is the case. The month-day-year order was used in Britain in the 1800s, but why we chose to keep it when Britain ceased to do so is something of a historical mystery. The best guess is likely that the order reflects how Americans say dates verbally. An American would be more likely to say that it's January 1st
That's true.
more than they would be likely to say the 1st of January. Our notation then could simply be a way of writing out what would be the most conversational.
That makes sense.
Number 1. Having a drinking age of 21. A 20-year-old European may be in for a shock when they fly to the US and discover that they can no longer legally drink alcohol. While you may already know about this peculiar American practice, what you may not know is why it is the case.
Yeah.
In 1984, the US passed a law called the Drinking Age Act. It stated that if a state did not create a minimum drinking age of 21, they would lose up to 10% of their federal highway funding. The states all took the hint and made the drinking age 21.
But why exactly
But why
21?
Well, America has a long and storied past with alcohol, including prohibition. Lawmakers didn't just pick the number out of a hat. It dates back centuries to Old English common law, which states a person becomes a full adult aged 21, at which age a person could, among other things, vote and become a knight. Still, as shown by this map, the US is one of just a few developed countries to have a minimum legal drinking age over 18. In fact, in some countries like Belgium and Germany, 16-year-olds are allowed to purchase alcohol. Alcoholic or not, if you order a drink in America, you're probably going to get it with a lot of ice. In most other countries, you just won't see the sheer quantity of ice that you'll get in your American beverage. Granted, you'll often get ice in your drinks in many European countries, but ice-cold beverages are the default option in America. Whereas lots of people from other countries don't have the same preference, and drinks aren't always served with ice. This cultural difference is frequently debated online. It could be because in some countries you shouldn't drink the tap water, which is where that ice came from, and in others it just isn't common to automatically have ice with a meal at a restaurant.
That's true. Honestly, let me tell you. First of all, the drinking age, yeah, here in Italy it's 18, and it's just like you become, you're no longer underage, you're legal, and in Italian we use the word maggiorenne. and you can just like you drive, you can drink, of course not together. Well, like in the United States, you can start driving, you can get your license at 16. Here for the car, you have to wait for 18. Like you can study at 17, but the actual license, you will have it at 18. So that's quite a difference. Regarding the ice thingy, I can tell you my personal preference. I don't like ice cold drinks unless it's like super hot in summer, like I'm sweating, I can't breathe, then yes, I will get something like that is iced. Otherwise, even like if it's like a spring day, it's, you know, it's a decent temperature, or even now today, I think that we have, I don't know, I don't see the temperature, but probably like 15, 16 Celsius. And I would never get something ice cold. I just don't want it. Like, I get brain freeze. Don't you guys get brain freeze if something is way too cold? I don't know. That's just me. I know, like, some of my friends aren't like this. I'm kind of like an extreme case. But this being said, in most alcoholic beverages, so like cocktails and stuff, you will have ice regardless, because that's kind of how you drink it. Of course, like, you're not gonna have it in wine and similars, but if it's like a regular cocktail, you will probably get ice, yeah, most of the time. Alright, so that was actually the end of the video. Honestly, that was quite interesting because I was familiar with some of these facts, but I didn't know the reasoning behind, like the tax thingy, the football, soccer, and stuff like that. So it was quite informative for me. I'm very glad that I got to watch these. Guys, let me know in the comments down below if you can confirm or deny anything of what was said in the video or that I said. Of course, we can have our discussions to learn and everything, because as always, I can only speak from my own experience, and it's just amazing to have a place on the internet where we can learn stuff together. Thank you so much for watching this one with me. Consider liking and subscribing, and I'm gonna see you guys soon. Bye!